This week on the Markcast, big XFL news, a lot of stuff happening. Holy cow. Reed was asking for a while, do something. Like, he was like the meme with the stick with the guy poking XFL logo saying, do something, and they're finally doing something.
It is the fellowship of the XFL. I'm very proud of that. We have our 9 hires, including Russ Brandon, Jay Rothman. We have all the big heavy hitters, NFL Network, NBA, Arash, come at us with all your criticisms of the hires of the XFL. We have XFL president and leadership hired.
Very cool stuff. We're also still talking CFL stuff. We've got 3 guests this week. Dan Ralph, our CFL Hall of Fame writer and friend of the show from the Canadian Press.
Been in this job for 30 plus years, and I've seen it do this, but mostly this. And I wish I had an answer for you. Because if I did, I would bottle it and I would sell it to the highest bidder.
Chris Edwards, he is the senior live event producer for TSN. I asked Chris the question that everyone wanted me to ask. So can you put me in contact with whose decision it is to play What You're Made Of 87 times at every single CFL game?
We do have a deal with Universal Music, and they do like to push certain artists, and we like to find, especially with that song, which I got to tell you, it's definitely grown on me, and we'll find sometimes in the truck that we're clapping the hands along to it.
And Adam Gosse, the PA announcer for the Toronto Argonauts, which is really America's CFL team.
Well, aren't you lucky? You get to talk to me the day before the biggest Argo game in about 4 years, so congratulations. You'll notice I'm drinking a little bit of tea. I plan on having an active voice tomorrow night, and hopefully with any luck, it's a little hoarse from celebrating.
And a new way to contact us and interact with us. This is a cool thing that Reed did.
Yeah, you can leave us voicemails now. We have a lot. We're playing your comments. We're talking feedback, but we have a big show. We got USFL next week. We got good guests lined up. XFL stuff this week. Your CFL Week 15 preview. Big Argonauts Hamilton game. We're selling out BMO. Everyone's going crazy. Adam's got a flag falling off the wall in his interview.
That's all happening this week. We're getting ready for the final playoff push in the CFL, and we'll have you all covered this week on the Markcast. We had a couple false starts there.
Almost wasn't recording the video, but we got it in. That would have been bad. We almost had to read. I was watching the Ravens game. We almost didn't get the video record started, but we got it going.
That's very true. I'm broadcasting live from the new. Well, it's still coming together a little bit. There's a different camera, you can tell. And then there's 2 monitors set up now. The iMac's gone. So basically, this is becoming the new control center. It looks really cool. Whenever you come down to LA, you'll have to see it. I'm really happy about it. So I'm
excited. It looks good. Happy Paul is a good Paul, so that's good. The camera looks good. It's good, and we're recording. That was the key thing. Paul was rolling the intro music, and I was like, oh no, abort. So we got it going.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another week of XFL, CFL, maybe some USFL talk. Maybe we'll see. We're just gonna tease right now.
I like I thought I was so clever this week. The fellowship of the XFL. We're going to talk XFL later in the show. XFL hired, the president, everybody. They hired 9 people, Paul. There's 9 people in the fellowship of the ring. Wow. 9 people, huh? So I put together a thumbnail. I have because some of the people have NBA backgrounds and NFL backgrounds and, Buffalo Bills. So it's the Fellowship of the Ring with everyone's heads replaced by, I was very proud of sometimes things just come to me, and I was very proud of that this week. So we're going to do all our CFL stuff, but we have everyone wants the XFL, all the hires, the Russ Brandons of the world and the Jay Rothmans and all that stuff. We're going to be talking about that later in the show. So,
hey, congratulations to your new XFL LinkedIn contact, by the way. I saw that.
Yeah, I sent out a couple LinkedIn requests to these are real ones. We've had problems in the past with LinkedIn. Russ Brandon, president of XFL, is now connected with me via LinkedIn, and that is the official one because the XFL official account tagged him in his presidential post. So, anyway, big show this week. USFL news. We thought this week, next week. I believe it's going to be next week, the week of the 15th. That was kind of the rumor. Good news is Jeff Pearlman. He wrote the big the rise and fall of the USFL book years ago. I've been going back and forth with Jeff since the USFL became a thing back. months and months ago, like back in May. And Jeff was like, hey, hit me up this week, and let's figure it out. And I said, this is great. This is going to be good. So Jeff's going to come on next week. He just confirmed with me. People seem excited about that. And we should have all the USFL announcement stuff from Fox in Birmingham next week, the week of the 15th. So.
Very cool stuff. Anything else cool going on that you want to share before we get going?
Plugging the show here. We have your friend of mine, Dan Ralph, is coming back on. He's the CFL Hall of Fame reporter. He is going to be in Hamilton for the Grey Cup, so I think Dan's going to be a good in-person guest. Dan sounds like he's going to be good to go. We have Chris Edwards. This is good, Paul. You're a TV person too. I'm TV. Chris is the senior live event producer for the CFL for TSN. So Chris is in the truck producing the games. I asked Chris, who is to blame for us hearing what you're made of 87,000 times every CFL game. Chris is good. He's got lots of stories. He's been with the CFL for decades. He's going to hook us up with some other good contacts. So Chris is great. If you guys are big in old stories and stuff, Chris has a lot of insights. We obviously talk this season. And then Adam Gosse, he is the Toronto's Argonauts. He's kind of like the Robert McGregor we had on before. He obviously this big Toronto Hamilton game this week is for first in the East. They've sold out BMO Field, all this stuff. So Adam talks through all that Toronto stuff. So
very cool. Well, sounds like another jam-packed show, as you always like to say. So with that being said, well, I like your hat, by the way.
Yeah, a couple other things. So I want to be known. I officially want to be known as the commissioner now. This is my National Spring Football League hat. I just thought that was the back is printed crooked. It couldn't be any better coming from Printful as we would expect, from the Printful merch. A couple quick things. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to post photos right now. Kyle got his Jouster shirts from the giveaway, and then Steve got his Markcast sweatshirt from the giveaway. I'll post the photos right now. But please like and subscribe. XFL, USFL stuff coming up. And then we do have voicemails now. So we're going to play them at the end of the show. We have a couple. They're not too long, Paul, don't worry. But now this has been long requested for a while. If you go to speakpipe.com/Markcast, it's going to put on the YouTube link, but speakpipe.com/Markcast is super easy. You can do it on your phone, your iPad. You don't have to Mark Perry, makes you email in MP3s or whatever. This, you just go on. It takes you 5 seconds, and we have some voicemails to play at the end of the show. And I just be a little more interactive. I thought that was good. People have questions.
We might want to do that for Wheelhouse, and that might be a thing that you like. There might be a cool thing for Wheelhouse. I'll
tell you, it's the one that we have. It's free, doesn't cost a penny. It limits you to 90 seconds, which is better. I think if you pay, you can have. I don't think we need longer than 90 seconds. Oh. So, but these are 45 seconds. But it's good. If you have a question, if you have a comment coming up, there's lots of USFL stuff, XFL. Please speakpipe.com/Markcast. I got the hat. They're printing our Grey Cup trophy right now. My name is on it. And then I did tweet this. I'm going to put the photo up. They tweeted this week, the Argonauts, McLeod Bethel-Thompson, they were doing hey, come down to the game, come down, BMO Field. I said, Paul Rudd, who? McLeod Bethel-Thompson is my vote for People's Sexiest Man of the Year. Paul, are you looking at this photo?
I am looking at this photo. He's a very attractive chap.
Because a handsome man. Anyway, so that's my vote. Paul Rudd, who? But anyway, McLeod, we're standing you and Paul. I think your Argonauts are going to have a big weekend here coming up.
I hope they do, because this is it. This is the big thing. This is we're going for the top seed in the East this week.
Yep. I discovered they were underdogs as we did all of our interviews today. I kind of thought Hamilton was the favorite, or Toronto was the favorite going into all this, but. Anyway, you see the scores from last week. Lions lost again. Elks lost again. Red Blacks lost again. Alouettes, they're going up the Blue Bombers. Blue Bombers are sitting Zach Collaros now this week, so that's going to be a little more intrigue for that rematch. The big game this week is Friday, and then, Stamps Lions. We saw that brutal when we were trying to go up to BC before that blowout, and then Elks Rough Riders. It really is all your money on that Friday night. BMO, they've sold it out 12,000 strong to capacity there, so.
We just got a quote in from McLeod Bethel-Thompson about the World's Sexiest Man. Here's what he has to say.
I met the criteria to be selected, but I wasn't.
There you go.
There you go. What show is that from?
Over The Last Dance, when Isaiah Thomas, he said, because Isaiah Thomas wasn't on the dream team, the first dream team that rolled over anybody because Michael Jordan hated him. That's why he wasn't included. So he said that, and it became a meme. So
there you go. There you go. You see the pickups here, Hamilton, and then BC. But like I said, the big thing, I really didn't think that Toronto. I thought they were kind of the favorites going into this. But anyway, everyone's taking Hamilton. But that is your preview. Those are your plugs. Now we have CFL news, and then we'll do all the XFL stuff with your time codes.
A lot of people are going to be very disappointed when that turns out to be in Toronto's favor. So, all right, moving on. This week, Trevor Harris is making a second start for the Alouettes. Plans to be better. Be better, Trevor Harris. They're hosting the Blue Bombers. Good luck being better.
Lions again. If we have a story coming up, Michael Reilly. Lions lost again last week. I'm sorry, I'm making that up. I'm talking about Hamilton. Trevor Harris with the Alouettes. Going up against Winnipeg Blue Bombers, tough battle. Like I said, I think this week, seeing Zach Collaros is going to be a little bit better. But again, it's tough to make these changes. Bring a backup quarterback in here this late in the season. Not a backup, but someone from another team. We talked about that last week. But he goes, I'm going to be better in certain situations where we can move the ball. 14 of 25 last week for 177 with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I mean, not the worst game in the world. He's playing better than Lamar Jackson is tonight. So,
well, I mean, Lamar Jackson getting some benefit of some calls tonight, though. He is getting the benefit of some calls, though.
Yeah.
So,
we have a couple Cody codes. I'm still waiting on Cody Fajardo. He hasn't blocked my verified, so I don't know if he's actually seen the cameo because I would have
assumed. Sure he has. It's your verified. I mean, that verified. It lets people know when you're mentioned by a verified account.
We have a couple quotes. He goes, people don't respect the talent in the CFL. He's blaming Cody, like everyone is blaming the year off rather than the Canadian game for the lack of offense with the C. This is we've started talking about this. I've been talking with people offline, our rule changes coming to the CFL, our big changes coming after the season. I talked with Dan Ralph about this today in the interview. The quote with 3 down, they said, in weaker moments, some of us have even wondered quietly of changing the rules so we can watch the American game. Could watch every Sunday could be the answer. Cody says, I don't think so. I watch the NFL every week. Cody, I don't know how much you can blame this year off again. Now we're week 15. Yeah.
With a little bit of workouts and preseason ahead of that, week 15.
It was 6 weeks. He goes, everyone wants there to be a bunch of points, but I think our games are great. We're just coming off a year with no football, and the guys are trying to get back in the rhythm of things and figure out reading defenses. I just don't.
How long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing this? You could read a defense by now, right?
I think the big litmus test is going to be this USFL in March, April, right? And if they can get guys in the beginning of March and get them up to speed for an April 15th kickoff or whatever we've reported, that's going to be the litmus test. Can you get players in, get them ready in 4 weeks and get them ready to go? The TSFL, from my recollection that watching the TSL games, they were a lot more competitive than some of these, especially this late in the season. That's where this is not week 1 or 2, but he says, I'll say until the day I die, CFL is extremely hard. You can't be inaccurate. You can't miss a throw. That's the thing is they're not, it's such a tight window of success in the game because the rules that I just don't think the players are up to snuff this season. So
I completely agree with that. I mean, you got so many things going on in terms of playoff positioning and even trying to get in the playoffs still for some teams. You'd think there would be better games. Well, you have, and you had Coach Dinwiddie. I talked with, I didn't talk a lot with Adam about this just because, he's the Argonauts guy, but you have Coach Dinwiddie basically challenging an unchallengeable call last week, mismanaging the clock. Remember the timeouts where they kneeled too early. We're going into you're the leading team in the East and we're messing up major calls going in. And, you can say winning is winning, but there's a level of lack of, cleanliness here that is not good. It's not good for the league. So. Completely agree. Speaking of uncleanly things, moving right along, nice little segue there. Michael Reilly is blaming bullshit headsets for the final collapse for the Lions. It's unacceptable to pro football, he says.
Yeah, the big thing, they say, Michael Reilly isn't a big crybaby. So if he's saying something, it's, he's not making excuses. He's not the Cody Fajardo's, right? I mean, he's not just calm, he's not soft, right?
He's not Sharman Jones.
He's not Sharman Jones. But no, they said that, he was having headset problems 95% of the game. He couldn't hear coming down the last drive. This is one of those things do you do a delay a game? Can we get that resolved? Can you get a wristband with some, plays on there, with the time clock being shorter in the CFL, like the XFL? XFL. Remember, they relied a lot on the headset communication too. It's one of those things. Rod Peterson was joking earlier this week, like, funny, it never happens for the home team. It's always the away team that has like comm issues at the stadium.
Well, I think that happened. Like I wanted to talk about the Astros 2017 cheating thing. Like, these kinds of things happen all the time when you go on the road, no matter the sport. For example, I mean, there were stories that we had heard, as kids. And then, Brian Hunter, he was on a podcast that I used to work on that I don't work on anymore. He was talking about how when they went to play Minnesota in the World Series, the color temperature of the lights changed in the dome. So when Minnesota was batting, the lights got more white. So the baseball would hide in the lights. But when the Braves were batting, they turned yellow. So the baseball would show up. This kind of stuff happens all the time.
Well, wasn't there in the baseball talk on the CFL podcast, but wasn't it when Cal Ripken was doing like the Iron Man streak where he played every game and he was cheating with the guy's wife? Kevin Costner was cheating. Remember you haven't heard the story that like Kevin Costner was like cheating with Cal Ripken's wife? Allegedly, and they were like, they got in a fight, and because he played like the most continuous games, right? Like Cal Ripken had a hit in every game or whatever, and there was a power outage the night that he was going to miss the game because of this, and they had a freak power outage at the stadium, and the conspiracy theory is that they did that power outage to save his streak.
It was actually not true. Oh. I do know. I do remember this kind of sort of. And Kevin Costner was about to sue someone over this because it just got out of control. Like it was such a stupid rumor, and it was something like way back before the internet would blow these things up. It was like when I was in high school, kind of stuff that before the internet would blow it up. This was going around, and like Kevin Costner was going to sue. I remember this now specifically.
Okay. Anyway, so Michael Reilly upset about that. BC Lions lost. This is another great Cody Fajardo quote. Cody Fajardo staying proud despite social media criticisms as riders get no credit for road wins. He goes, I think it's very big for us, especially on the road, which isn't easy. I don't think a lot of people give us credit for that. Tonight, Edmonton was in their home stadium for the last time. We know they were going to get us everything they had. If we were losing the games, I would be concerned, but we're finding a way to win. So yes, I know we can help our defense out. We can help the team out by scoring, going up 2 or 3 scores. But at the end of the day, it all depends on wins and losses. And when people look back at the season, no one's going to dive into the analytics of it. I don't buy that because I think it's historically known right now that this is a terribly offensive season. Like, I think people are going to remember they're not going to, they're just going to remember the Riders were 10-4 or whatever. Like, no, they're going to remember like this was a horrendous season in terms of scoring. That's
very true. And, he says it's still tough to go on social media, even when he's winning. Well, it shouldn't be because you're blocking everybody, Cody. You're blocking everybody. Come on.
The Cody in his ivory tower of social media. I mean, I can't imagine. I blocked a couple more people this week. It does feel good. It feels nice.
Here's the week's worst headline. Halep is on the way.
That's the 3 down. Oof. That's the 3 down. BC Lions signing kicker Bailey Hale. Anyway, he's completed the mandatory protocols. Nick Vogel was in there. He was Jimmy Camacho. The BC is still. I'm like, guys, we're done. Like, it's too. Like, how many games are we playing left? Like, we're bringing in another kicker here. I would ride with Nick Vogel, but maybe they're really not confident in him. I can't imagine it's worth bringing in another kicker we're week 15.
Yeah, you got 3 kickers on the roster, even though one's in the practice roster. You got 3 kickers now on your roster. That's ridiculous. Of course, he's from Louisiana Tech. From Eastern New Mexico to Louisiana Tech, and it's gonna be interesting to see if he's upped their game in terms of kicking, because there's been a lot of games where they've lost because of missing kicks. So maybe this might be enough to make a last minute push, but who knows? Who knows? Amar Doman says he plans to bring back the fans on his own dime.
Yep, talking about the Lions. There's a couple of interesting tidbits here. There's a lot of cool, heavy stuff this week, but he was negotiating for 6.5 years with Mr. Reilly and then the estate to take over the game, take over the Lions. He says, I don't think the issue is with the fan base; it's with us not promoting. We have to get out there, do our job, get people in, get things affordable. It's going to take someone like me who is a doer and a management team like the BC Lions to do it. Again, winning. Why are getting texts? Winning helps, and the fact that Lions just have had a horrendous. I have my focus on. I should not be getting text right now. I have my iOS, my Mac OS focus. Anyway, Amar, he wants to do this, and it doesn't matter what you're going to spend or how low you're going to drive ticket sales. The team's got to win. End of story. I mean, you can talk and we can do, free water bottles and like the Edmonton Elks are doing, it's like, remember they had like unlimited food and all that, but the team's got to win. So I wish him adieu with that.
I'm surprised you didn't put this on my radar a lot sooner. This next article about football operations cap. Apparently, this football operations cap is trying to limit spending and stabilize it. But apparently, you get penalized if you fire people that aren't doing a good job. Is that what I'm reading here? Is that what?
Well, it's in that it could be looked at as you're trying to get rid of them. It's not penalized if you get rid of them. The reason I put this in here is we've talked a lot this season, a lot of our interviews about offenses being stale, coaches not necessarily being proactive in running schemes that would get to higher points. But then we have this spending cap, and you're not able to attract quality coaches. And now they're cutting it. It's going from 2.5 down to 2 million, a flat. It's even more punitive to if the coach isn't delivering, you get rid of him. You got to stay under the cap. But it doesn't make for a good, worthwhile, I want to be a part of this team and develop stuff on there.
That makes sense.
They said, you see, fans in Edmonton want change. The football operations cap had good intentions, but the league created a system that limits the teams from recruiting good players and retaining good people, and then it restricts them from making necessary changes. That's Jamie and I thought that was good.
They need to clear it all out there in Edmonton. It's bad. It's a bad situation. They need to get rid of all of them. All of it.
Well, that's it.
Fire everybody.
Sherry Jones wants to get rid of it. I mean, he said burn it to the ground, burn it with fire. So,
what have your other Edmonton people been taught? Like Dave Campbell, what has he said?
Yeah, I mean, Dave's Morley Scott's going to come on in a couple weeks too. Morley's Dave's partner. I mean, Dave's pretty PC about it, but I mean, Dave understands that there's a problem. I mean, but it's also that's Dave's job, so it's hard. Like Terry Jones was odd because, Terry covers Edmonton and then came out so strong. You got to look at I can't ask Adam with the Argos, why did Dinwiddie blow the call last week? It's Adam's, you kind of got to, it's tough sometimes.
You got to be political. You got to be, diplomatic. You got to, you got to kiss. You got to kiss up. You got to kiss the ring sometimes. So, writers are not sorry for Elks 0 for home record and low fan attendance. They've announced that paid attendance has averaged north of 26,000 fans. What's that on the exchange rate? Canadian. A quick TSN camera shot showed pretty much an empty stadium, empty seats, and Terry Jones, Edmonton Sun, saying fewer than 8,000 people.
Yeah, because you have season ticket holders not showing up, right? You have paid attendance, people okay, I got my $30 a game or $60 game ticket. I'm just not going to go, right? And that's the problem. So not only now are you not attracting in the casuals, but okay, you're still getting the money from the season ticket holders, but when
they're not going.
And when it comes to re-up at the end of the season, if Brock Sutherland is still the GM, they're not going to re-up. I mean, people have said that online. If they don't get rid of the GM, they are not re-upping their season tickets. I just like this quote, Duke Williams. He's like, "Nah, I don't feel sorry for them. That ain't my responsibility. That's their team, and they're playing how they're playing as players who are supposed to come together." Because obviously Saskatchewan came in and wiped the floor with them. So, they didn't wipe the floor. It was competitive, but it was
competitive, but they're still taking big L's. Toronto sells out available tickets against Friday's Hamilton game. Congratulations, Toronto. You're selling tickets. I'm so glad that MLSE is making, some kind of headway in terms of all the money that they're diverting from the Raptors and the Blue Jays the Leafs to pay for this stuff.
It's good. I mean, I've just seen a lot of people online really excited about this. They're taking that as a moment of pride. Steve Simmons, that's been on our show before. Remember, Steve was playing golf and forgot to come on, and then he came on the next week. Steve wrote a scathing article this week. If Toronto clinches first, no one's going to care. Well, I kind of get what he did, and it was really to kind of piss people off to make a stand. And what did they do? They came out and they sold out the stadium. So, It's kind of sneaky smart. I kind of get what Steve was doing with that. So.
Yep. And I mean, Toronto FC is not heading to the MLS playoffs. So there's plenty of real estate free and available at BMO Field right now.
Yep.
By the way, I got to talk about this crap. It's almost like, did you watch the Sounders game last week? No, you didn't. You don't watch religiously. You only kind of really pay attention when they're actually like, you went to the MLS Cup game when they won the second cup.
I'm a bandwagon fan.
But basically it was like, I felt like it was BS. Like I was sitting there watching going, there's something fishy about this game. And I look at the standings, and I'm sorry to divert, but this is going to, the people in Canada are happy about this probably because there was at least one Canadian team that made it to the MLS playoffs. And it was Vancouver because they drew with Seattle. It was very interesting how it almost seemed like MLS needed a Canadian team in their playoffs because Montreal didn't make it. Toronto didn't make it. So Vancouver made it. Interesting.
I might go to the Sounders. We have playoff tickets here the 21st. I might try to go. Might try to bring the wife.
And because of that draw, the Sounders now have to play a first round game.
Oh, but the Sounders are good. Sounders are good.
Yeah.
They got it. This is not a good story. Charles Eager, he is no longer with the Red Blacks. He was insensitive to the French Canadian players. I just thought this was like crazy. He's an American coach, comes in, but because, Alouettes, or not the Alouettes, the Red Blacks have, a handful of French speaking players, right? And I guess he was let go. They won't say if he was suspended, but they said his contract would not be renewed. They have 11 French speaking players on the roster, and he was asked not to be a part of them for their final regular season games.
There you go.
That's not good. That's not a good look for like Americans coming in.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Respect, like you don't go to someone's house and crap all over the place. Be respectful, be mindful. And even then, like sometimes the Canadians, like, our friend, think we're still crapping anyway. So Canadian rock band Arkells tease. Who are the Arkells?
So I have a listener of the show, friend of the show, Josh, our friend that sent you all the Argos merch. He sent me, I want you to look this song up later. I'm going to keep the YouTube link in there. Heaven forbid we get YouTube claim because we play the Arkells and they copyright strike us. This Ticats touchdown song. It is really catchy. Josh, if you're listening this far, I really made fun of him. Like, he sent it to me. I'm like, this is a terrible song. But it's like every time the Ticats score a touchdown, it's like the Ticats are humming. But then they like have it's like the game and people are going to the game. But they want them to be the Grey Cup halftime show because they play the Hamilton song and it's going to be in Hamilton and all these things. I say it needs to be Stephen Lee Olsen that plays What You're Made Of. If they don't play, because I don't even know how to watch a CFL game right now without What You're Made Of playing 87 times. So if it's not Stephen Lee Olsen, he needs to play the warm up. And holy God, the Dolphins lost to the Ravens 22-10. Wow.
Weren't the Dolphins winning?
Yeah, but they won 22-10. That's crazy.
Oh, I thought
you thought the Ravens came back. No. Anyway, last note here, Bob.
That sounds like, that song sounds kind of like the Houston Oilers fight song. If I were being completely honest with you.
Yeah, are you trying to play it?
Look out, football! Here we come, Houston Oilers #1.
That's the Oilers one. Okay, it's good. I'm kind of got it stuck in my head now. It's a good song. Anyway, last story. Bob Irving, he's retiring. He's the voice of the Blue Bombers. Bob, I've been trying to get Bob on the show for about 6 months here. He's going to call the West Final. That's his last game. He's been the Blue Bombers broadcast partner for like 50 years. They're trying to get it so that he could do the Grey Cup like national radio game because they're like it's not going to be because TSN's got it, but like who's going to be doing like the radio broadcast of it? There's kind of like an online petition going for that. Like Bob gets to go out, presumably calling Winnipeg winning the Grey Cup. Because let's be honest,
I mean that's the most likely outcome right now. It's kind of like when Vin Scully was retiring, everybody was clamoring. They were like, Vin Scully needs to call the World Series. Kind of the similar thing. So let Bob do it. I mean, especially if Winnipeg. Well, I mean, Winnipeg's going to be there.
Yes, Winnipeg will be there. So anyway, but that's that. So.
All right, we're going to take a break. Going to toss over to Dan, Chris, and Adam. Reed's going to talk to them. And after we talk to them, we got XFL news and a quick little USFL update. And really, do we have fan control football?
Yeah, we got some combine dates coming up. Combine dates.
Oh, crap. That's all coming up right after this.
Well, we have friend of the show already yawning, Canadian Hall of Fame reporter Dan Ralph. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. How are you?
I'm great. My pleasure as always.
And we were secretly plotting some, potentially Grey Cup live episode things here before we start recording, so that could be fun. I guess we're week 15 here. I'm really curious. What is your main storyline right now? What are you tracking this week?
Well, on Friday, you've got the Toronto Argonauts hosting Hamilton. The winner of that puts itself, well, if Toronto wins it, they win. Toronto will win the East and get a first round bye. And if Hamilton wins, they win the season series. They assume first place going into the last week of the season and could be in their own, could control their own destiny whether or not they finish first. So, and lurking in behind is the Montreal Alouettes in third. They're only a game behind Hamilton and 2 behind Toronto with 2 to play. And so if those two teams beat up on each other, Montreal could sneak in and get second place, or I guess in a roundabout way, still get a home playoff game out of this. So there's still plenty of drama going down the stretch. I mean, out west, you have Calgary in a position to clinch a playoff spot. You've got Saskatchewan in a position to clinch a home playoff spot. And if Calgary clinches, then BC's done. So the muddled CFL playoff picture could clear up significantly by Sunday.
So I was surprised. I'm putting together the show today. Paul and I are going to record tonight. CFL writers, CFL.ca, take what you want with what they pick. I was really surprised to see Hamilton across the board, everyone picking them in this game. Does that surprise you?
No. I mean, Toronto leads the season series 2-1, but both of those wins were by a point. And I was being very gracious when I just was writing this, that I said that the football gods were smiling upon Toronto for both those wins, and they were. I mean, Hamilton had a chance to, they pulled to within 17-16 in the first loss, and what should be, maybe not an automatic, but they missed the convert to that would have forced overtime. So Toronto won that game 17-16. And then on our Thanksgiving, on the 11th of October, Hamilton took a 28 lead into the fourth quarter, needed a field goal with a minute 30 left to go up by 2. And then Toronto drove the ball down with just over a minute. They drove 31 yards and kicked the game-winning field goal from 51 yards out into the wind on the game's final play. So the other win Hamilton got was on Labor Day, and it was by 12 points, and it was decisive. So if Hamilton, to me, Hamilton, with a little bit of luck, goes into this game sitting in first. But I think anybody will tell you, if you want to win, you got to get lucky sometimes. And Toronto's had its share of luck.
We've obviously, tracked the whole Toronto and the attendance and MLSE. I've seen a lot online today. All the available tickets are sold for Toronto, right? I saw Steve Simmons had a big article come out like, Toronto, if they win, does anyone care? A lot of outrage. What are you making of the push that Toronto is making? They're going to have presumably 12,000 fans, whatever the capacity is there, really trying to make a stand here like we do give an S about this team and this league?
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you, the CFL needs Toronto to do well. Maybe not necessarily on the field, but in the stands. And so I'm not surprised. I mean, MLSE's come under a lot of flack this summer, and you can't hide behind the COVID pandemic anymore because the Ontario government is allowing more and more people into stadiums, and they're just not coming. But having said that, it's not just for the Argo games too. Toronto FC, the MLS team, which usually has great attendance, has seen its numbers dwindle, but they've struggled this year too. So I'm beginning to wonder if maybe that's just a part of the fickle soccer market. But I don't know what else the football team has to do in terms of putting a product on the field to succeed. But MLSE's come under a lot of flack about its lack of marketing and not putting its money where its mouth is in terms of the Argos. And I guess we'll see this weekend. They better get 12,000 because I'll tell you, half of those fans are going to be Ticat fans. So you know what? They better get 12 to 13, and it better resonate that way because it's not hard to count. I joke, but at halftime I can count the attendance this year. So I'm hoping that maybe if I start counting, I have to go into the third quarter on Friday.
Side note, yeah, I mean, what do you make of the attendance? You know, a lot's been made in Edmonton as well, right? I think it was like 6,000 fans the week before last. Obviously they have been dreadful, in general, and then especially at home. But, here I heard, for months leading into the season, okay, we're going to do a slow rollout, open up capacities. Well, now, I mean, obviously Toronto, they're still operating under, but like Edmonton, they can't fill that place if they, I saw $29, all you can eat, or get a hot dog and a water. I mean, what do you make where at week 15, we're still not hitting these capacities, except for, Toronto this weekend potentially?
Yeah, well, I mean, the NHL season started, the NBA season has started, and those are direct competitions for the entertainment dollar in Toronto. And both of those sports have much higher profile than football here. But putting my football hat on, I can't imagine that there's not 20,000 diehard football fans in a city of this size that don't care enough to come down. And the TV numbers seem to be good for Toronto, so it's like people will sit at home in the comfort of their basement or their living room and watch, but they won't make the effort to come down. And I can't give you a reason why. I mean, they moved to BMO years ago because it's a much more intimate stadium. It's down by the lake, and on a beautiful day, it's a great place to watch a football game. They're still not coming. And my biggest fear is if MLSE can't make this go, or decides that it's not going to try and continue to make this go, whether there'll be anybody who will. Because, I mean, if MLSE can't do it with its resources, I think, to me, that's pretty damning if it gets to that. But, we'll see. I'm putting the cart before the horse.
Well, no, but, you just had Mr. Doman on, BC Lions this week, I think on Sportsnet talking, he's willing, he knows it's going to be this huge uphill battle, a lot of his own personal funds, being spent to do this. And like you said, if you have the resources that MLSE has at their disposal and they're not making it happen, it does get that question there.
It does. And I mean, I watched two gentlemen, David Cinnamon and Howard Sokolowski, two Southern Ontario businessmen, and two very respected people in what they do. They came in and they gave it everything they could, and I thought it was what they did was commendable and was fabulous, and they did everything they could. But when MLSE came, I mean, you're comparing a sports conglomerate or a giant, a media, sports giant. And I thought, okay, well, they've got the resources to make this go, and we haven't seen it. And, and I don't know why. I mean, I've been in this job for 30 plus years, and I've seen it do this, but mostly this. And I wish I had an answer for you. Because if I did, I would bottle it, and I would sell it to the highest bidder.
What do you make? We had our big episode a couple weeks ago. Does the CFL have an entertainment problem? It seemed like that was kind of the prevailing. We're getting these low score games. Yes, they're coming down to the last second, but it's like 19-21 or whatever. I mean, what are you overall season thoughts this year about the entertainment and the football quality on the field?
The entertainment's been good because the games, for the most part, have been close. But when you examine why they've been close, yeah, I mean, some of the offensive fireworks that this league is known for have not been very, very. They've been few and far between. And I wish I had an answer for that. Some of the offenses, like I thought for sure that the Hamilton Ticats offense would catch fire in 2021. And it's been inconsistent. The Argos offense has been inconsistent. The best offense has been the one out west with the defending Grey Cup champions, but otherwise, yeah, there's been a lot of inconsistencies. Defenses have been very, very good, and I initially was chalking that up to, okay, they lost a year, and it takes an offense a little while to catch up. But I mean, that argument doesn't hold water when you're 12 games into a season. And maybe they'll catch fire this week. But the entertainment value has been good because the games have been close for the most part. But there's a reason why they've been close, and that's because they haven't always been well played. And I mean, I look at a guy like Bo Levi Mitchell, who's still probably one of the best quarterbacks in this league, and he's got almost twice as many interceptions to touchdowns, and that's unheard of for him. And that seems to be the byproduct of 2021 in the Canadian Football League, I guess.
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, we have a story with Cody Fajardo coming up, complaining, the games are exciting, there's talks of moving to 4 downs or whatever. And Cody's like, it's like we're still on this year off. And I just, Winnipeg had the same year off that everyone else had. I mean, I know they had a lot of, retention and carryover, right, with the O-line and everything, but like they still had, and it's just lights out across the board except for Winnipeg. And it just seems like something is amiss here that that Winnipeg is that much hands and shoulders. We have Jamie Nye had a story talking about the cap issues when it comes to coaches and things like that, right? Being too many. Is that the idea? Because here we are, USFL, whether you believe it or not, right? Launching in April, we have the presumed announcement coming next week. That's going to draw coaches from the CFL. It's going to draw players. If they don't have the money to retain people, or the people they're retaining, what do you make of that in the coaching that's just really been stale this year?
Yeah, I think there should be a big concern about that. And years ago, God bless his soul, Don Matthews talked about the need for a coaching association to set up pensions, to set up a situation where coaches could get paid more and get paid better and have more security, because he envisioned the day when the good coaches would leave and go elsewhere. And, you're seeing that, I mean, I don't think anybody begrudges a coach to take an opportunity in the National Football League. I mean, that's where they want to be. Most of the coaches in Canada are American, and it's an opportunity to go back home. But you want to keep your good coaches, and you want to do what you can to keep do what Hamilton's done and keep Tommy Condell and Orlando Steinauer and Mark Washington, and try and keep the turnover limited to maybe position coaches, which you can, in essence, replace more easily, right? But I think it's an issue, and when you start cutting coaches' salaries, there's a much more competition, and you're going to have guys that are going to go. I mean, Chris Jones was coaching at a high school, for crying out loud, after he left Cleveland. So I think it's something that's very valid, and it's something that they're going to have to address. Now, how they address it, because the coaches don't have an association, they don't have a union. So that's a really good question. I wish I knew that too.
It's just crazy. I get a lot of flack. We post our episodes in a lot of the XFL groups, a lot of the CFL and the USFL, and you get a lot of these CFL people. What is USFL or what does XFL have to do with, what does that have to, it's like, well, it has a lot to do with it right now when you're looking where they are, announcing next week, Fox Sports, 150 million, 3 years. I mean, whether you want to laugh at the league or not, or, I mean, this is presumably a real league that's going to play for 13 weeks. You're going to have these players and these coaches that are going to get tied in and not be able to go back, or have players that go, well, why would I go up to Canada when I could make about the same, maybe a little less, but I'm at home, I'm here for 13 weeks, and then we move on and I go back to my job. Do you get, are you concerned at all about that?
I would be. And the thing is, the American player is going to go down south and play. He's going to get paid in American money. He's going to be in the United States. And in his mind, he's going to be more visible to the National Football League, because that's where most, if not all, these guys want to end up. They're either on their way up trying to prove that they belong, or they're trying to get back. And I think that's what American leagues offer that ability to get paid in American dollars, because they come up here and they make Canadian money, and it's not par. And there is the talk too about you get taxed. Maybe you get taxed twice. I have to have an accountant go through that with me, because I am Canadian and I live here year round. But I get that. A while ago, the Canadian and American dollars were at par. And I remember talking to an Argo player, and I think I remember who it was, but until my mind's getting. But I mean, he was taking all of his Canadian money and reinvesting it and buying American, because he goes, this is not going to last forever, and he's right. And these guys, the American player takes a major hit when he comes up here to play because he's getting paid in Canadian money. So the opportunity to play closer to home, to make American money, and I think probably be more visible and closer to the National Football League are all incentives for players, and ditto for coaches, I think.
Do you see, we had you on obviously after the breakdown with the talks and everything, and I don't want to get into the XFL of it all, but do you see seismic changes happening within the CFL following this season? Now that we've gotten through it and we've seen, and we're going to look at the budget sheets and we're going to see how much money was lost, and, rule changes to try to freshen up the offense. I mean, what, across the board, do you see seismic changes?
Well, first and foremost is there's this seems to have been a common theme throughout, but we're going through another round of CBA talks this winter, and those have been contentious. They've been a little difficult. So, I mean, it'll start with that. There's always rule tweaks and always rule changes, yes, and then we'll see where the salary cap goes in the new CBA, and that'll impact free agency, who gets signed and for how much. And, the whole thing with, we'll see about, whether or not we have the whole scale changes, whether players still sign 1-year deals, or maybe they lock into 2 more years and maybe give you a little bit more security on a team front. But no, I think it's going to be the same. We've been through 2000 after 2018, we went through CBA talks leading up to 2019. We went through CBA talks in 2020 for an amended CBA. They didn't play. They went through CBA talks in 2021 to amend the CBA so they could play, and we're going through CBA talks again. So, and they're never easy, they're never fun, and they're never pleasant, especially when these two groups get together. So, I think that may sort of be the tipping point, and we'll see where that goes. But there's always rule changes. There's always going to be an exodus of players. There's always going to be coaches that leave to go wherever. So I don't see it changing much on that front. But, if they do reduce the coaches' cap, or the football ops cap, then I think you're going to see teams cut coaches or reduce coaches. And then others you're just going to say, I might as well go back home and coach, do what Chris did, coach at a high school.
It's just hard. I see all these fans online talk, and, there's all these ideas, and they should do these shows, or they should do this stuff online, or they should do this. And it's like, you need to have the money. You need to have the money to pay the coaches and the players. TV ratings have been good this year, right? But I mean, they're kind of set in with their budget from TSN. I mean, I just don't know. Hopefully, I guess another year of 218 coming in and really bolstering, but I haven't seen any real movement from that so far this year. I just don't know what's next for it,
Well, I don't either, because I know when you go into CBA talks, you and I both know the league is its teams are going to say, look, we've lost combined the last 2 years, $umpteen million. We don't have money to give you. And even the TV deal this year, it's been prorated because there's only 14 weeks of games, right? So, I mean, the CFLPA knows that, and I think the player reps know that. And I mean, it's going to be a contentious CBA. They always are, I mean, they had in 2019, they had a 97% strike vote. And so, but these are guys that, I wonder if they could afford to go on strike, but a lot of them didn't play in 2020, and they found alternate jobs. So maybe this time they can. I don't know, but I do know that the teams are going to be saying we lost millions of dollars, and in a gate-driven league, it's not going to be hard for them to prove that.
Speaking of money and stuff, as someone that's watched the game for 30 years, do the ads on the field, are we for it or are we against it?
You know what? It doesn't bother me. When it does. You know what bothers me more is if I watch a World Hockey Championship and I see ads on the jerseys. then for some reason that irks me more. If I see it across the helmet, that irks me more. But ads on the field, I'm all for teams and the league doing whatever they have to in order to be financially sustainable. Because bottom line, and I think you said it, money makes the world go around in pro sport. And so if you can get a TV broadcaster to give you $130 million over 3 years, then I think you become legitimate, because you need money to make this thing go. And if the CFL has to sell ads on the field, then so be it. Just please don't put it on uniforms. Not yet.
Well, but you have the Marks, right? You have the Marks sponsored, right?
Yeah. Don't ask me.
As covering, Toronto and everything, I was going to ask you this earlier. I do want to get your thoughts on this before we let you go. What do you make of the McLeod as kind of the primary? I've heard rumblings that it was more of a dissatisfaction in Arbuckle, and that maybe Toronto's going to be looking elsewhere after the season. I mean, McLeod, we're a fan, but it's not like he's been lighting the world necessarily on fire.
No, he hasn't. But I mean, they're still winning, and that's the bottom line, right? But no, I'm with you. I personally, I like the guy on a personal level. I think he's refreshing because, I would say it nicely, he can be a little out there.
Yeah.
And he's got a fresh take. I mean, I remember asking him why does this team play so well at BMO Field, and he narrowed it down to grass, dirt, and worms. I never would have guessed, but I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a good player, and I think he's a great teammate. I think they made the decision to go with what they had, because they weren't going to pay two guys, because they had two guys making starters money, and they couldn't afford to pay both. And so when Nick was healthy, he was coming on the roster. He was getting a starter's salary. And so you had the two of them, and I think in a perfect world you'd like to have one and 1A, but you can't afford to pay them both. And still, they were going to get more guys off the six game injured list. They were going to have to pay them too, and so they had cap issues to deal with. And I think what they got from Calgary or what they got from Edmonton was probably better than they would have gotten for McLeod. And I'm not saying that as to diminish McLeod, but McLeod's older. Maybe doesn't have as much tread left on the wheel, although he would tell me he does. But you know what I mean? Like, I think he's the younger asset, and you could probably get more for him. But I do believe that money played a factor in it.
No, I do have one more question for you, but no, I mean, sure. We saw Toronto posted something on social media, come to the game this week and have McLeod Bethel-Thompson there, and it was buy tickets. I said, Paul Rudd, who I would vote for McLeod Bethel-Thompson sexiest man of the year. I mean, I'm serious. I think he's a good, young, refreshing looking person to have as the star of the team. Last question. I'm glad you didn't ask me what I thought if he should be. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. I know. A lot's been made about Coach Dinwiddie, struggling, right? We had some time management issues. We had some penalty calling. Thoughts on, a first-year coach like this and kind of getting down the stretch here? I mean, we're going to the playoffs here, and we're making these issues.
Yeah, and you know what? And he'll be. What I like about Ryan is he will be stand up, and he will take responsibility. And he acknowledged the night that he didn't do very well with time management, and he's acknowledged when he's made mistakes. And God bless him, and they've won in spite of his mistakes. So I'm thinking that's his miscues haven't cost them as far as we know. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the 4 losses and see if there were anything there. But he's a stand-up person. I think he's done a very good job given where he's got this team, and he's got good players, and the players seem to like him and seem to play for him. But I mean, these issues are going to be magnified from here on in. If he makes a mistake that costs them first place and costs them an opportunity to host the East Final, and then makes another mistake that costs them a chance to go to the final or go to the Grey Cup, then that will be magnified. I think he gets a get out of jail free card because they've won in spite of his mistakes. And B, he stood up and said, yeah, I made a mistake. I got to be better. So now he's got to be better, right? He's used that mulligan.
Yeah, winning solves a lot. I mean, look at
it does. It resolves it. It blinds you to whatever warts there are. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look at Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. They got a couple wins, and now we don't really worry as much about.
We don't talk about the other stuff.
Yeah, Dan, this has been a long time coming. I appreciate it. Exciting as advertised.
Thank you so very, very much. Stay well, stay safe, and here's hoping we get to talk during Grey Cup.
I hope so. We'll see you soon. Thank you, sir.
Stay safe.
Well, I'm excited today. This is a little different than we normally do. We have, Chris Edwards, TSN senior live event producer. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
My pleasure to be here. I'm doing well. Thank you. Always happy to talk football, especially CFL. And thanks for inviting me.
So I'm a former TV person, kind of in my previous life before weddings, I did it. So what is kind of your role with everything in the CFL this season?
So first of all, I've been at TSN since 96 and I've worked on CFL, amongst other things since then. I've been in the truck since 99. And I've been producing since, full-time since 2009 CFL. So my role is, I'm doing 2 games this weekend, Friday in Toronto, and then Saturday in Montreal. But I'm the live event producer, so I'm the one in the truck amongst a cast of characters, broadcasting the game, all connected via intercom. Mainly my role is to steer the ship somewhat. I am in constant communication with the commentators, with on-field officials, with our people back at TSN, just dictating if we're doing everything from a replay to a graphic to going to commercial break to whatnot, just kind of navigating the waters.
So you can definitely, tell us maybe who is the biggest diva when it comes to commentators or no. But I will say, earlier this season we had Farhan, I believe it was Farhan and Matt Dunnigan.
He's the biggest diva, Farhan.
Well, I can imagine I think we had Farhan and Dunnigan on as I said, that is, all the games need to be Farhanology and Matt Dunnigan. I thought that was tremendous. It could have been also that BC completely just steamrolled the game. It was one of our sole wins this year. So can you put me in contact with whose decision it is to play What You're Made Of 87 times at every single CFL game?
We do have a deal with Universal Music, and they do like to push certain artists, and we like to find, especially with that song, which I got to tell you, it's definitely grown on me, and we'll find sometimes in the truck that we're clapping the hands along to it. But it's nice to have a signature song, that's for sure. And I know, for the diehard fan who watches a lot of games, maybe they hear it a lot, but it's I don't know, it's definitely grown on me, and he's an artist that I don't know, the song kind of resonated, and it's both easy to cut to, but it has a little bit of some good pace and whatnot. But I know I hear that, I've heard that before. We heard that with the Rec Claws before, but it is nice to have a signature song. So that's the. But getting back to the diva comment, I got to tell you, not just saying this, we have a great group of people that love the CFL, and there's no divas on that group. It's a real good gang that loves the league and just wants to put on the best. Put out the best product possible, and but I will say Farhan's a little bit. He's a little hard to deal with. I love that.
Yeah. Well, no. 2 things. First, I get the song thing. I was joking because I did see they're talking about the Red Claws, right? Doing the half game show at the Grey. We're going to be at the Grey Cup. We have our tickets, and I said no. If it's not Stephen Lee Olsen or whatever, we riot. I don't even know how it would be to even watch a CFL game without that. And I've certainly done my fair share of live events and TV, and I definitely know how those earworms get in your head where you hear that every time. But speaking of the CFL, just media, as someone from America, the outside, reaching out to people throughout the year, yourself included, like you said, everyone is so open and wanting to work and see this league succeed and grow, and taking time like you are today. I mean, it really speaks volumes to all the men and women that are kind of behind the scenes working on this football league.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, like I said, I've been involved since 96, and I can think of, there's a very small group of us that have been on it since then. Like I think of our senior producer, John Hines, who's done, I'm not even sure what number Grey Cup would be. It's got to be probably 12 or 13 that he'll do this year. And then Glenn Suter and one of our statisticians, David Morris. So there's the four of us are kind of the only ones left of that old guard since 96. But I got to tell you, everybody who's come along the way, CFL's been a real labor of love. And it's a big reason why we get special. I get very defensive of it when some people, attack it or whatnot, because I love all football. I love NFL, like college. I don't discriminate, and some people that rag on the CFL ticks me off because it's a great product. And I grew up in Edmonton as a youngster, watching, I can call them the Eskimos because they were back then. But, and so there was a love for this league that was ingrained in me. But we have so many people that just put so much work into making this product look as good as possible. We love it. And, we take a lot of pride in it. So it's, I tell you, every year when we finally get to that Grey Cup, it's a real culmination of a lot of work, a lot of hours. And, we're a group that really love working with each other. So it's really, like I say, it's a labor of love, but I'm very lucky. I get to work with a lot of people that I consider my good friends, and I get to do a great league, which I absolutely love.
Well, and just the excitement of, live TV, of live sports, especially, right? Never the same, always different. You can never predict, what it's going to come down to, what it's going to end up being. How did you kind of get involved? Absolutely. How did you get involved in all this?
I kind of fell into it. I happened to be in Toronto for a couple of weeks back in 96. My first gig was I was the late Pat Burns. I was his special assistant when he was working for us on the NHL playoffs. For 2 weeks, I was his gopher, doing whatever he wanted. And at the end of those 2 weeks, the then executive producer, a producer by the name of Paul McLean, who sadly we lost a number of years ago, and he was the originator of Friday Football. He was a huge supporter of this league. But Mac asked me if I wanted to stick around, and I played football in high school, university. I loved the game. I wanted to see it succeed. And I just kind of fell into it, and it turned out to be, I like to joke, it's the two things I did best growing up, which were playing sports and watching TV. And it's been a great marriage. And you talk about the live aspect. I talked about John Hines earlier. I was working under him for a number of years. In 2008, he let me do the second half of a Stampeders Eskimos game. So I was in the lead chair. And when I did my final count off air, I just kind of sat back, and the adrenaline of it all, I just said, you know what? I know this is what I want to do. And I love it. It doesn't really matter to me if it's like Friday night, which is basically a playoff game between Ticats and the Argos, or if it's, if it's the final week of the year and it's a nothing game. The adrenaline of doing a live game and telling stories and just being involved in it, I get such a thrill out of it. Like I find I'm just so lucky to do what I do. I love it. It's a real rush.
Oh yeah, there's nothing quite like it. I want to talk games. Before we get to that, this season, what's it been like? Coming back, kind of shaking the rust off right of the year. Getting back, kind of getting the gang together again. Kind of overall mile high thoughts of this season, how it's been for you.
Yeah, it's been. I tell you, it really reinforced how much we love this game and how much I missed it. Like it was a tough year being away. Last year was a struggle because, there's always the worry about the CFL. We were worried about what was going to happen. But it's so good to be back. And I'll be honest, we haven't had the overall number of the games haven't been the best as before. It seemed like defenses have really ruled this year, but we've still had some great moments. It seemed like the last few weeks things are really ramping up in intensity, and the playoffs are going to be great. But it was great to be back. There were some challenges we've had to adjust with, with COVID protocols, with distancing on interviews. We're not close to teams as we usually are. I've missed going down on the sidelines pregame, which I used to do just to kind of hang around. But we all adjust, and just being able to be back and doing the games has made up for the fact that, or made up for the inconveniences of what we've had to go through. But it's been great, and we, like I said, we've adjusted along the way, and we've had a blast doing it. It's so good to be back doing the games. don't even think about last year anymore.
Yeah. It's cool because with sports, especially the way TV and replays and everything, there's like these moments that will live on, right, forever. We were just going back and forth today when John Ryan and Brett Lathauer, when he
We were to the stands.
Yeah, we were talking kicking celebrations, and I had posted, that because John Ryan used to, he was with the Seahawks too, so I always have an eye on him. And them running into the stands after making. Have there been moments this year that you've seen where you're like, wow, that is going to be something that exists kind of outside of even just this year, and something that is going to be part of kind of the nomenclature moving forward?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. I'm just thinking before we get to this year, I think of past years, like the best moments happen that are organic. Like I remember, I think a Gray Ellingson in the I think it was the East Semi when in the snow doing the snow angel, where we had John Gott going to the end zone and he drinks a beer. Like we had those things happen right in front of our eyes. I'm thinking it's funny, I'm on an Ottawa theme right now, but I'm thinking like last week, Devontae Dedmon, who's now become one of the most electric players in football, period, no matter what the league. Taking one back to the house and tying the great Gizmo Williams in kick return touchdowns, in far less games. So I think the great thing about this game, live sports in general, but especially the CFL, is I find any game can just have some kind of moment that does resonate and you do remember. And I'm sure Friday night for sure we'll bring more of those. On BMO Field, I'm sure there'll be something electric. Coming on the field before the game, Simone Lawrence and some of the players are going to be wearing Angela Moscow jerseys to honor the legend. And it's fine. A lot of it is organic. You plan things before you go into a game, but I would say 80% of the time it's on the field, and those are the best moments when you don't plan for them, but you execute them properly and right when they do happen.
Yeah, it's just such an interesting thing about sports where it just lives on like in our society. It doesn't matter what league, it doesn't matter what sport. You could have great baseball moments or soccer moments or football moments, and it just everyone remembers like where I was at that time or what was going on. And to think of just all the hundreds of moments that you kind of been involved with over the years, I mean, it's got to be kind of cool.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I've done. The bulk of my work has been football and hockey. I have done a lot of amateur sports, but I do the World Juniors, and I was there when Conor McDavid won gold for the juniors, in Toronto the first time it was played there. The same tournament I was in Helsinki when they won on the first time in Helsinki, which was just unbelievable. It was one of my favorite moments. I've had some great moments over the years with CFL, but I can honestly say the highlight of my career. And I've done some Olympics, and I'll be going back to the Olympics in February. But the highlight of my career, and the one moment that I will always remember, is the Vanier McMaster playing Laval in BC Place, and one of the greatest games period ever played. And we nailed the broadcast. I to this day I say it's the one broadcast I would go back, I wouldn't change a thing. But I still get goosebumps thinking about that game and the energy and whatnot. And I've been very fortunate to be a lot of really cool moments, and it is by far, it's the highlight of my job that you just, when you're there in the moment, experiencing it with a bunch of people, and I'll never forget some of them. They'll always live on.
It's something that most people, I just don't think, I have that TV background too, and I'm used to I'm always the camera guy. I'm always used to, having the star be in front, right, and all the people that go behind the scenes. So I appreciate that, all the hundreds of people that are working the cameras and the trucks and back at the studio and putting it together. If you had to think of like a top CFL moment from the last couple of years, I mean, something that fans would really go, oh yeah, I totally remember that.
Wow. Well, first of all, you're right about the people behind the scenes, because I always equate it to an iceberg. You see 5% of it, the controlled chaos that is behind the scenes that go, man, I tell you, it was, in recent memory, the Bombers winning the cup over the Ticats, which is a great game recently. Man, I'm trying to think of just one moment that can really
put you on the spot.
Really stick out. Like, it's tough. It is really tough. I think of Because largely what I do, my last game of the year is always the East Final. I usually do the East Semi and the East Final. We've had a lot of great moments over the years, but my thoughts just go back to that Grey Cup. And fortunately, I did the pregame show, but after that, I was sitting with a panel watching much of the game, and just feeling the electricity of the crowd and seeing some of the big plays, seeing some of the big hits. I honestly, I can't pinpoint to one. Yeah. I probably because there's too many. I honestly, there plays every single game. I think, I think of, actually one I can't think of, and it's in a TV related way. We did on the road up to the Grey Cup, sometimes as a producer, you just you got to go with your instinct, and you feel like you want to tell a story about some player. And I just had a feeling about Brandon Banks. So we promote him, going into the break. We come out, we talk more about him. And what happens? Bang, bang, bang. He gets 2 catches, and the third one is a ridiculous diving catch in the end zone for the touchdown. And you feel good, not just because you nailed it, but it just all the hard work. And I said, go with your gut. It felt damn good. So that one kind of sticks out.
Well, yeah, the last thing you want is you're previewing this game, and then someone gets hurt or someone you got to take
chances, right? I'd rather take a chance, and it happens all the time. Take a chance on some guy who doesn't do anything, but you take a chance and it hits. You're like, all right, hey, good night.
So I want to get your thoughts on it. So you said you're going to be doing Toronto, right, tomorrow, and then Winnipeg. I didn't realize going into today producing the show that Toronto was actually considered kind of the underdog here with Hamilton coming in. I'm a McLeod guy. So thoughts kind of on the Hamilton-Toronto game here?
Yeah, the CFL is always it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. And every year there are teams that, they go through lulls. Well, this year Winnipeg hasn't gone through any. They just, they've been consistent as heck. But teams like Calgary and Hamilton have really slowly and steadily improved over the year. And Steinauer is such a good coach, and Hamilton is a veteran team that they've had some bad injuries and whatnot. But they're peaking at the right time, I think. And then the Argos, they've had a good year. I would give Steinauer the edge over Dinwiddie in the coaching category. And I like Bethel-Thompson as well. I'm not sure, the Arbuckle trade, he seems to have, I'm not sure he's played his best since there. And I'm not sure what the reason why. But I just kind of think the Ticats are peaking a little bit while Toronto's plateaued a bit. So if I had to guess, I think the Ticats take that one, which would put them on the inside track of hosting East Final. And then we got Winnipeg and Montreal. And even though Winnipeg's sitting a number of guys, and maybe Montreal can contain the beast, I would never count out the Bombers. So. Who knows what will happen? But it's great that in the East, especially, there's a real fight to the end. First place is still for grabs, and that first round bye means a lot, especially if you're banged up. It'll definitely be interesting. The Friday night is going to be. It's so great that a Ticat Argo game has so much significance this late in the year, and because it's good for the game, and it's going to be a great atmosphere there.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I've seen online, they've sold out, all available tickets, right? In BMO. Does that obviously has to help just add to the electricity? I mean, a good game is a good game, but when you have as many fans as you can and they're invested in a game that's as important as this.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's. I know they've capped it at 12,000, which personally, it's a shame. I wish they would open it up a little more. But I'll say this about BMO, and people talk about the crowds and whatnot, but BMO is, you talk about loud stadiums. Winnipeg's IGF and Regina's Mosaic are the measuring stick. BMO is surprisingly loud, and when you get a good Argo crowd in there, and Friday there'll be some good Ticat representation. It's going to be loud, and honestly, it's going to be a fantastic atmosphere. It's going to feel like it's a playoffs. It's going to feel like it's the East Semi or the Semi. But it'll be it's great to see the black and gold faithful come down the highway, and it's going to be electric right from the get go. Like I said, it will be. This is like an early playoff game.
Are you able to watch the games as a fan now, being invested in it for so long and obviously, producing and it's like when you see how the sausage is made or whatever, but are you able to still enjoy the games as pure sport?
I definitely am. Although I know in the past I might still be guilty of this, but I remember I was watching a Super Bowl. This goes back about 5 or 6 years ago. And the gentleman, one of the people I was watching with, left the room. And I found out why is because I was so critical. I was talking about the broadcast so much, and I was being a little critical that I drove him nuts, and he wanted to watch the game. So I kind of learned my lesson. But no, I can definitely watch as a fan. I'm a big Oiler fan. I'm a big Raptor fan, so I can watch those any day of the week. And I do appreciate watching broadcasts to learn what works, what doesn't work. I always watch my own games back. Usually my director and I, he'll go home and I'll go home and we'll both watch the game back together. It's gonna be 2:00 in the morning, but just kind of while it's fresh in our head. But I love going to a bar or sitting back with friends and watching a game as a fan because number one, I'm a huge fan of the CFL. I love the game. I like the NFL too, but I just find the CFL game more exciting with the 3 downs and the passing and whatnot. But to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. I can sit back and watch as a fan, but with a discerning eye towards the broadcast.
Well, Chris, this has been so much fun. You're such a wealth of knowledge. I mean, especially for just as long as you've been with the league, but especially behind the scenes, I could talk to you forever. But I really appreciate you making the time today. Mike Hogan said, "Oh, Chris doesn't make a lot of appearances," so I appreciate you taking time.
Nobody ever asked me. No, Reed, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for asking me. It's like I said, it's always great to talk football and CFL, and it was my pleasure to be on. And I'm happy to come anytime you want.
Yeah, well, we'll keep you on. I know you got a busy week here. We're heading in, and then we've got heading into playoffs soon. But I appreciate it, and good luck with the broadcast this weekend. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Take care.
Well, we have Adam Gosse on today with the Toronto Argonauts. Stunning background here. Stunning, shirt. You have the pillow, everything. You're looking very dapper.
Well, I'm flying the flag, literally. Always got to rep the colors. The double blue roots are deep with myself and my family. So yes, absolutely, always repping. So
talk to me. Huge game tomorrow. Well, as this airs, it'll be tonight. Huge game Friday here. Hosting Hamilton. I just saw, it's sold out, right? All available tickets on Ticketmaster. I've seen people posting. Talk about your excitement, everything leading into this game.
Well, aren't you lucky? You get to talk to me the day before the biggest Argo game in about 4 years. So congratulations. You'll notice I'm drinking a little bit of tea. I plan on having an active voice tomorrow night, and hopefully with any luck, it's a little hoarse from celebrating. Look, we're lucky. Tomorrow we get to play our biggest rival in, again, the biggest game in about 4 years, I would think, going back to 2017. What more could you ask for except for one more opportunity to do it at home in a few weeks? So that's the goal. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of black and yellow in the crowd tomorrow night. And kudos to the Hamilton fans. They always travel well. So we have them to thank for probably putting us over the top tomorrow night. That being said, be that our crowds are small, we've always been mighty. In my opinion, there's no such thing as a bandwagon Argo fan. So the ones that do show up to BMO always bring a big tank of gas. They're ready to go, full throat, and they'll be ready to meet the challenge when those Ticat fans enter the building tomorrow night.
I'm genuinely surprised. I just saw the CFL.ca writers picks come out. Everyone picking Hamilton in this. I'm genuinely shocked with that because I think that, and maybe I'm just misremembering, but it seems like Hamilton's had a few more missteps. It does feel like Toronto's been on a roll lately. I mean that. So what thoughts about that, about everyone picking Hamilton, and are you guys the underdogs?
If you're asking me, and I'm not a professional player, I did play football growing up. I love that kind of talk because it is good for bulletin board material, and it's nice to be the underdog because the victory just tastes that much sweeter when you win. From a coach's perspective, It's probably not unfounded if I was to look at the sports writers and say, and I did see them earlier today, that it's a clean sweep. Everyone picks the Ticats to win. I would say, okay, fair. For a first place team in the division, we do have a points deficit. Our point differential is in the negative, and we've had a lot of close victories nonetheless. But the expectations for this team, I think, are higher than that point differential shows, despite the fact that we're in first place. So all that's going to go out the window tomorrow anyway. You're talking about two teams that hate each other, and anything can happen.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't know. I really just thought Toronto was the favorite going in, and then I'm prepping the show today, and I'm like, oh, I just kind of assumed it was like this crowning game, right? Okay, it was like Winnipeg, a couple weeks ago. Okay, we're going to win this, and now, I guess we're actually in, worrisome here against Hamilton. Talk about just being a part of the fan base there, seeing the Hamilton fans come in. I saw people posting today online like, no fighting, like make sure we keep everything clean.
Right. This goes back to these generations, right? This rivalry, and it's fantastic. Sometimes it gets a little over the top, but you know what? We'll take a little bit of the bad with the good, with the predominantly good. Ticat fans need Argo fans like we need them. You can't have a hero without a villain. So it's nice to beat up on each other, but at the end of the day, we respect the rivalry. That's a passionate fan base. You can go to a game at Tim Hortons Field and you know exactly what you're going to expect. You're going to expect some abrasive language. You're going to expect some energy, and they fill the place. They love their football. They love the Ticats football, and they love to hate on their Toronto Argonauts down the road. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic. We haven't had a game like this, a meaningful Argos Ticats game, in quite some time. So it's going to be fun. Wish you could be here.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been with the Argonauts kind of in this current, role, cheerleader extraordinaire, right? But how long have you been involved in all this?
So I've been on the microphone. This is my second full season. During my second go around, I was the PA announcer at the Dome for a few years. My last year was 2008. My day job took me out of town to British Columbia for 5 years. So obviously I had to leave it behind, but found my way back, and here I am. So this was the second full year of this regime, so to speak.
And how long have you been an Argonauts fan?
Well, stop me if you've heard this before, but my double blue heart exploded when Rocket Ismail came on the scene. It was the 1991 season that just did it for me. I fell in love with that team. Hollywood North, John Candy, Wayne Gretzky, Matt Dunnigan, Darryl K. Smith, on and on and on. It was that season where I really sunk my teeth into this team, and I've been in love with it ever since.
What's it been like? We've had a lot of different, media people on. We've had, the Argos fan cast on, talking about, being Argonauts fans. You get all this. Toronto doesn't care about that. What's it been like being, this many year, decades long Argonauts fan, and kind of going through all of that? And like you said, there are no bandwagon Argonauts fans.
Well, it certainly teaches you humility, Reed. It's my personal opinion, and I haven't communicated with every fan base on this planet, but I don't believe anyone has it tougher than we do. We've been around since 1873, but we get used and abused at every turn. It's one thing if you're not a CFL fan, I get it, but there's a little bit of resentment or even detestment in this city that I still haven't been able to figure out. We have to scrap and claw for every inch of our sports landscape, and kudos to the Argos fans that turn up every day. We're in the trenches, fighting for our survival, sometimes financially, but we make it work. We know that it's a tall task to be in the forefront of the sports landscape in the city, but we're up to it, and we're here for the long run.
How good, I presume good, how good do you feel about the chances of you guys getting to, basically kick the door down in your neighbor's house, right? Go in to Hamilton here, maybe representing the East in the Grey Cup?
Well, it would be like a deja vu if you recall 1996 The Argonauts walked into a very snowy Iverwin Stadium and won a Grey Cup on Hamilton soil. That's pretty sweet. I know that the Ticat fans would love nothing more to be representing themselves at home again. Would love to break their hearts. It's a tall task. It's a tall task to win in that building. Obviously, since Tim Hortons Field was built, the Argonauts don't fare very well. I believe we only have 2 regular season wins in that building since it's been built. So that makes tomorrow's contest that much more important. Failing that, we'd have to go on the road at some point and win in that building and when the playoffs come around. So we'll see what happens.
I tell you, I'm feeling good. It worked out good timing wise having you on today. I invited Mike Hogan back on the show here in a couple weeks, and he said, I refuse to come on if the Argonauts are not, still in it, right? I'm not going to talk. I said, well, Mike, I think I feel pretty good, about that. I like to kind of shoot my shot that way, but surprised, how good the team has ended up this year. Just, had a little stutter at the beginning, really seemed to be picking up steam. Coach, Chris Jones coming back on, kind of controlling the ball on defense as well. I mean, how has the season felt for you?
Well, for me, this has kind of been the Argos' MO. If you go back to 2004 when they won the Grey Cup, they finished 10-8, so nothing spectacular. You fast forward to 2012, they were 9-9. You fast forward to 2017, they were 9-9. The 3 seasons that the team has in common is a new quarterback, a new head coach, or a combination of both. It takes time for a team to gel. It takes time for a handful of new players to find their way, to build chemistry, to learn a new playbook, new schemes, new coaches. So it took an entire season for those teams to peak, but they peaked at the right time. They peaked in the championship. What I'm saying is all you need is an opportunity. It's going to, I picked this team to finish 7-7 at the beginning of the season based on that aforementioned history. They've guaranteed themselves a winning season, so they're at least going to be 1 game better than that. But it takes time for this team to peak. And we've obviously seen some quarterback changes this year already, so they have to overcome that. There's been a lot of injuries. There's been bodies moving in and out. That's not unusual for a CFL team. But those things will happen. So whether you finish off 12-2 or 11-1 13-1 like the Bombers could go, or 8-6, you've still got an opportunity.
Yeah, I've said this before on the show. I like, Toronto being the one in the Grey Cup they were the ones that kind of made the Russian bleed, right? They were Winnipeg's only lot, if we're wanting, unless you're a Blue Bomber fan, right? If you're wanting even a little bit of something else could happen, I do like that. Hey, remember back in week 2 or whatever when, Toronto won? I just think that's exciting. I think that makes for narratively as good of a kind of a storyline as we can have for this season with Winnipeg just killing everybody the whole time,
Well, in 2019, there was a similar story. Obviously we know the Blue Bombers won the Grey Cup that year. The Argonauts had 4 wins, and one of them was against those Blue Bombers at home. So again, there's nothing that really scares this team. They just have to put in the work. They have to execute, and there's really nothing stopping them if they do.
So I've gone as far as I can contractually without talking about McLeod Bethel-Thompson here as we do an Argonauts interview. Thoughts? Thoughts on him? I hear. I just tweeted today. I said, Paul Rudd, I would take McLeod Bethel-Thompson as People's Sexiest Man of the Year. We had a wonderful Twitter ad with him promoting the game. His beautiful face with the beard. Thoughts about kind of McLeod leading this team, presumably, hopefully, to the Grey Cup?
If you look up quarterback in the dictionary, you're probably going to see a face that looks like McLeod Bethel-Thompson's. I mean, he's got an arm. He's gritty. He's tough. He can stand up and take the abuse. This guy is not a quarterback that misses a lot of time, and he takes hits. He can scramble. He's got the flow. This year he's added the looks, which is fantastic. But above all that, he's a leader. You can tell by talking to the players, both on this team and around the league, that he has their respect. I apologize.
That's okay.
That was our existing alarm for the regular scheduled call. But he's got all the intangibles. He's a leader. He's a leader of men, and he loves to do it. He loves to do it. Some guys have all the talent in the world, but they lack a little bit of that fire. He's got it. That fire burns bright in him. He loves playing football. He loves leading this team. Finally, hopefully, has an opportunity to do it. He's obviously been overlooked a few times the past few years. He's had to fight his way back. So now he's got the opportunity to do it.
So I have two questions followed by that. Do you believe that when Coach Dimwitty says, he is the face of our franchise, we are moving forward with him? I mean, obviously winning helps, right? Everything right now, but do you believe that moving forward? I mean, obviously we can't, predict the future, but. Sure.
I absolutely believe it. Because I believe in Michael Pinball Clemens. I believe in him. I believe in John Murphy and their staff. They have a track record of success. They have a track record of identifying talent, sometimes long before anybody else does. And they also believe in character. Character matters on an Argonauts football team where Pinball Clemens is involved. And McLeod Bethel-Thompson is a character individual. He's a good person on and off the field. And I think his players see that, and they'll follow a guy like that into battle any day of the week.
That's what I like about it. I mean, it feels like that is what should be happening, right? Like, I feel like, this storyline checks out, right? He's worked so hard, worked for years. We did our whole week 2, we called him the king of the CFL and, cause he's been cut by, all these different teams and on the 49ers like 3 times, whatever. It's just crazy. We tracked him back in the spring league, November of, I guess it was 2020, up till now. I saw him even, and obviously he had played for years before that, but I'm like, he's got like a John Moxley. Like, I don't know if you watch wrestling at all. Like you said, it's a little unhinged, but it's like this unhinged genius, right? Kind of just, it's a little off, but we're just going to let him kind of like let him cook when he gets on the field. I mean, just the career he's been on and the journey, what thoughts now to finally see him in this first position?
I actually exchanged a few messages with him online prior to the season. After he departed to give himself one last shot in the NFL. And of course, those who knew him, including the team, encouraged him to do what he needed to do and wished him well. But he also said, if the opportunity came that he was going to return to the CFL, there's only one team he wanted to play for. And it didn't take him long. He didn't sit on it. He didn't draw it out. He gave it an honest shot. He took a look at himself in the mirror and says, it's probably not going to materialize. So I'm going to head north where I know I'll be welcome and I'll have some success. And he's done just that. You're right. He's been a journeyman, and that's fine. Everyone loves an underdog story. So the stage is set. The lights are on. He's under the spotlight. He's got to step up in the microphone and sing.
I like that. I just talk about, going into this game, going through everything, there's been so much against the CFL this year, they didn't play and all this stuff and the COVID, like everything going on. It does feel like this is a really feel good story here. I mean, what is the mood with, the fan base, as passionate as they are, and then kind of the team and what is the vibe there kind of in this organization right now?
Well, on top of the laundry list of adversity that we've had to overcome as a fan base, the pandemic was just one more thing to add to the list. We were removed from the sports landscape for a year, which obviously didn't help us at all. We've had to return to reduced crowds due to, COVID restrictions. And we're coming off a 4-14 season. How do you sell that? Anytime there's a plethora of new players, new coaches, fans are going to say, well, what is this team going to do? You're going to have to show me. At this point, I think the team has done enough to tell fans this team is in it to win it. Even if it's not this year, the organization has shown, or in my opinion, has shown the fan base that we're committed to building a championship team, or at least a team that can contend for a championship year in, year out. So that would be my message to the fans. It would be like, stick with us, because the people in place, and I'm talking about the people off the field, the Pinballs and the John Murphys and even the Ryan Dinwitties, the people are in place to lead this team to sustained success. And those are things we haven't had in a while. I mentioned the Grey Cup championships, the recent ones, 2004, 2012, 2017. They were immediately followed by failure. Toronto, I don't have to tell you, loves a winner, and believes they deserve a winner. So even after championship, if you can't sustain that by producing a quality product, you're not going to turn out for it.
I saw, and I don't know if you saw or not, a kind of divisive article come out yesterday. Steve Simmons, right, with the Toronto Sun writing, and I get all sides of it, right? Like I get why he wrote the article, talking about, I think it was, Toronto could win, who cares or whatever, right? And I got a lot of messages. I saw a lot of comments. I actually think it was a good article. I mean, I kind of get, where, what do you make of that when you see, here's like the one print reporter, in the, covering the CFL for the Toronto Sun, writing like, who cares if they win?
I'll tell you what I thought when I read that article, Reed. Have you ever seen the movie Mystery Alaska?
No, sorry.
Okay, it's all good then. Well, there's a scene where Russell Crowe, it's a podunk hockey team in Alaska that's playing the New York Rangers. Okay. And, during one of the intermissions, Burt Reynolds tries to convince his team that they're licked. So play back and play defense and go for a tie. He did it with the intention of lighting a fire under his team. The team captain said, wait a minute, we're not beaten. And as the team left the locker room all fired up, he looked at his captain and they said, thanks for the assist. So I think Steve Simmons is an Argo fan.
Yeah.
So he has a job to do as a journalist, and I respect that. But I also think he was trying to light a fire under this fan base. And look what happened. The game is sold out. So, I think there was an undercurrent of, hey, it's a scathing article, but it's also a motivating one. Like, prove me wrong, because I want to be proven wrong.
That's my take too. I mean, I got it. To me, it felt very different than the Terry Jones, like, burn Edmonton to the ground, right? Like, this is, this franchise is in the dirt, right? Oh, your flag fell down. No. So, I get it. And I think that it's good where, I'll tell you, there's something to be said. We had Nate on a couple weeks ago. His picture, I don't know if you saw his interview, he had a framed glass photo, fell off the wall and shattered during his interview. There's something to be said with Argos, members and stuff falling off the wall.
There's always going to be adversity. There's always going to be a challenge. Clearly, this is mine today.
Well, good. Well, this is as good a time as any. We're going to wrap this up. Adam, I so appreciate your time. I really, like I said, I didn't go into today recording thinking that Toronto was the underdogs this week. I'm really scared now for them, but I do think McLeod and everybody. Let's get a final prediction for the score.
Well, it's been close every time, so there's no reason for me to stray from the normal. I'll say 28-27 double blue.
Well, there you go. That would be an exciting game. Adam, I save your voice, scream tomorrow. I hope that, 12,000 strong. It's good. It should be hopping. I mean, I'll be watching on TV. It should be a pretty hopping if they can get that place filled up as much as they can. So
I can't wait. It's been a long time, and good for us, good for the fans, and let's hope for a barn burner.
Yeah, let's go. All right. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Great talking to you, Reed. Thanks a lot.
Welcome back. I want to thank Dan, Ralph, Chris, Edwards, and Adam Gosse. Gosse?
It's Gosse.
Gosse. Adam Gosse. That Canadian pronunciation. Are you sure it's Gosse? You have like a
I'm listening. I'm going to check it right here because I have how I introduced him. Well, we have Adam Gosse on Gosse. Adam Gosse. There we go. I knew you. Don't forget with the sound. I was just wanting to hear how I pronounced it.
But you're everything. Yeah. So let's move on here. XFL news now. Woohoo! That spring football league that has crusty uniforms, according to our buddy Arash. They've hired their league president, former Buffalo Bills CEO Russ Brandon.
Yes.
Interesting.
So big news this week came out. They came out, I believe, Monday. It was, they announced their 9 big hires so far. We knew Jay Rothman was with it. He is formerly ESPN. He is the former Monday Night Football producer. I have a bunch of notes here, but this is a big deal. We're finally getting going. I am surprised. It doesn't make sense to me to do this in November when it's like end of the year stuff, but clearly they want to go hot and heavy. I imagine January, we're really going to get a lot of news. XFL.com is updated. It has all the new press releases. XFL Shop is down for good until 2020. It says coming back in 2022. So that to me says like either new teams, new logos, new names, new cities. We don't know, but all the merch is gone now.
But didn't WWE's weren't they the ones fulfilling the orders anyway right now? So maybe that's also the reason why they took it down.
Yeah, I think this is, it's been a long time coming. I think this is a fresh start now. You know, we're getting everything in order. Russ is in charge. People are not happy about this. Mike Mitchell talked about this before. Russ Brandon has a history of some insensitive female things. It's not great when you have someone like Danny Garcia as a female-owned sports league. Like, whether it's true or not, I'm not going to pass, judgment on Russ, but it is like, that's your first big hire, is someone that has a questionable past. Mm. That is not great. Obviously, he has a good resume, managing partner and president of the Buffalo Bills. The thing with this was he was an executive advisor with Redbird Capital, like kind of during all of this. So the thought process is like, he was already kind of in the family, like, well, let's get him in and put him in that position. I don't know, like, is he, everyone's going to be reporting to him. Is he going to be the face of the league? Like, I don't know. Like Oliver Luck was. But they said, he was a 21-year tenure with the team. He ended in 2018. He's the other big person, Mark Ross, is joining. He's going to be the executive vice president of the football operations. So he's kind of that chief football officer role that we had talked about, rumored for whatever. The interesting note about this is, and listener Seth pointed this out, I want to give him credit, where his title is, which is the one that I have here? Jay Rothman's. I'll get to that. Anyway, he is in football operations, so he's kind of going to be that CFO. And so he was a former Bills general manager. Doug Whaley is also going to be in similar capacity. So we have the list here. We have the 9 people. Is there any of these names or any of the things I've highlighted with some of their backgrounds strike you as anything interesting?
Nothing right now. I mean, Jay Rothman's a good hire. Very good hire there. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, like, how well they do. And I also will share the concern about Russ, because I mean, he did leave Buffalo in, unceremonious fashion. And it's almost, you wonder if they even did their homework, like if they even tried to like look outside the box and actually look for a candidate that could do this, that didn't have the baggage. You almost wonder if they did. Did they try?
It feels a little like in the family, and we're kind of sweeping stuff under the rug. We have Ross Gerby. He's the chief financial officer. He was with the NBA. He was senior vice president of team and labor finance. That's a good hire. We're bringing in a lot of people that have been really smart in other leagues, right? This Jordan Slatchler, he had been with the XFL before. A lot of these people were with the league in some capacity before, bringing them back in. Janet Dutch is the same way. She was, president of the XFL Guardians before. She's rejoining kind of in this prominent role. It's good to see people that were with the league before, except for obviously
Jeffrey Pollock.
I always, except for Jeffrey Pollock. A lot of these people are getting roles back. I had a wedding show tonight. My brain is very tired. But like Janet's a good one, because she's been with the league a long time, really built up the New York Guardians as good as you could, kind of in that New York market. The other interesting one, Mark Ross, he is a current analyst on NFL Network. I think that is interesting to bring in that sort of like, he's the executive vice president of football operations. Is he going to be more of the on-air role, right? Where he is like an analyst, unlike, like I said, maybe Russ Brandon is just the president. Like, we don't see him, right? Everyone assumes, it's going to be like Oliver Luck and they're going to be out, in the forefront. And I don't necessarily know if that's the case.
Interesting.
The other note, Jay Rothman. So this is one I wanted to say. So listener Seth, he is the senior vice president of broadcast operations. And Jay thought that was interesting as he worked for ESPN. Is the XFL, are they going to be doing their own broadcast of the games?
Good question.
Where, obviously we know they're going to be producing a lot of content, right? Like the ESPN 20/20s and the 24/7, all that leading up. But when you're talking about broadcast operations, someone that was the EVP of, Monday Night Football, before, if anyone doesn't know, like XFL, basically like NBC would produce it or Fox would produce it, right? They would be doing whatever. ESPN, I guess was NBC, the original XFL, ESPN and Fox. But this time, maybe XFL is producing their own content that way, running the games and then selling that to the networks, presumably to save costs.
Or maybe they're looking into like doing like a network type of situation where, they have the framework in place to broadcast their own games on an over-the-top service, and they could sell their own ads that way. Who knows? A bunch of different possibilities. So,
yeah, a couple just last quick notes. I want to get through this. Jordan Slatcher, I mentioned before, he'll be happy. He was the one, he negotiated the whole Bud Light seltzer thing. People were excited about that. So obviously, some more. That was the big sponsorship from the original XFL. But yeah, the XFL News Hub has a great breakdown of all of these, but really excited to see this news coming out. They've also updated the career page, and they've linked it over to LinkedIn. So they're going to be posting jobs now. I would imagine pretty soon. I would imagine going into the new year if you want to do social media stuff or whatever for the XFL. But that is all getting updated. It does seem like we're moving all along.
I know who they shouldn't hire. Danny Garcia appearing to be holding a weird ball.
I have it on focus. Display me for this. I will. It's very unprofessional. Yeah, this was the thing. When Danny and Dwayne, when they came out and they bought the XFL, they had their own custom ball. So I don't buy this. People are thinking like, are they going to go back? Are they remanufacturing balls? I don't think that we spend the 9 months of research and development that they did making the first XFL balls and redoing that. Like, if we're buying the league that's moldy jerseys and footballs, I think we're keeping the footballs that we have. I don't think we're like going about doing that again, but people are worried. I think it's just a design thing. I'm going to put this photo up. The jacket is more concerning to me than the football. Can we be honest?
Very true. I don't know what's going on there. There's a lot of words on there. Let's call.
Yeah, it's like graffiti.
Wake up call, member group.
Time's up.
What is happening with this? I don't even know what this even means.
The jacket's more concerning than
it looks like a Zubaz reject jacket. Remember the Zubaz that people used to wear back in the day?
No, like Zoomies?
No, not Zoomies, Zubaz. They were like these zebra pants. Look them up when we're done. They're ridiculous. And that's what this looks like. It's ridiculous. Also, you texted me about this. You thought the week before that Josh Johnson was going to play. Turns out Mike White, who is going to be their franchise quarterback for the Jets. That's the guy. Yeah. That is the guy. He has all the moxie, all the intangibles that you couldn't measure. I think, what's his name? Zach Wilson. Yeah, I think his time is done already. I think Mike White's the guy.
They call him Mike effing White. That's his nickname.
That's pretty obvious.
Anyway.
But Josh Johnson came in to replace him when he got injured with a forearm, unfortunately. Went 27 for 41 for 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interception. It is clear why Josh Johnson keeps getting work. This is obvious. This shows you that spring football works, Arash, because it's kept a guy like Josh Johnson employed and sharp and game ready. So it was interesting.
Yeah, I've told you this offline. Real talk, I don't know if I want to do the Arash experiment for Thanksgiving. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I think we might do. We'll see. He doesn't seem. I don't want him to come in and be a grumpy grump. I want to actually talk CFL, and if he's going to,
you don't want to be himself.
I don't want I want to have an actual conversation about CFL, and I don't think that it's going to be that way. I think it's going to be a lot of yelling.
He's going to come on and bash the XFL for like 30 minutes. That's all he's going to do.
And that's not. I don't have any and you could.
There's no bandwidth there. I don't have the energy to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. The other thing we'll knock these out. Rapport, it was reported. Obviously, Cam Newton got brought in. PJ Walker was going to get the start. Sam Darnold's hurt. He's at least going to get the start this week against Arizona. I mean, talk about a horrendous way to make. Freaking debut. I mean, at least JJ Watt is injured. I mean, not that it's good that he's injured, but at least JJ is not going to be like breathing down his throat. But Cam Newton's coming in. That's disappointing. I was really hoping the next week 11 was going to be the Panthers versus Washington football team, and it would have been Heineke versus PJ Walker, which would have been like pretty remarkable. But disappointing. I think you have a better shot with PJ than $10 million with Cam coming in.
I completely agree. I think this is a situation where they're trying to maybe mend a fence one with Cam. Maybe mend the fence there with Cam. Cam should retire a Panther. He should. He took the team to the Super Bowl. He needs to retire in Carolina. There's no doubt that he needs to do that. So maybe this is like the feel-good story. While I'd love to see PJ get the reps, it needs to. Cam's story needs to have this happy ending and go out on a good note. And maybe this is it. So,
yeah, just sad for PJ.
I'm kind of split.
Yeah, there's a report here, and with this, we have a voicemail coming up too, just real quick at the end of the show. Reports again that Toronto could be getting an NFL franchise along with London, and St. Louis is the other one that's involved in that, and San Antonio is that the other one I have. They're trying to get up to 36 team, 18 because you're going to have 18 games, and then the whole thing. Interesting with that, obviously with the MLSE of it all, and the XFL, and Toronto, and the Argonauts, and all that stuff. We have a voicemail about that, but any thoughts about the Toronto-ness of it?
Okay, well, I will say this right now. A franchise all alone in London is not going to work. That's not going to work. You'd be better suited. Yeah, that's exactly. I was going to say Mexico City would be the place you need to put a team. That would be a personal choice over London. The reason why, here's another reason why the NFL is looking to expand. A, because of pandemic losses. I don't know if you guys know this, but every single major league sports organization lost a lot of money, even though they're able to get back on their feet because they've got built-in fans and TV contracts and whatnot. They still lost a lot of money, so there's going to be a lot of expansion talk with a lot of different leagues. Spoiler alert: the Seattle Sonics are coming back. The NBA is going to give them a team. They're going to give Seattle a team. It's going to be the Sonics. They're coming back. The other reason why the NFL is going to do this. And they've picked St. Louis. The other reason why it's happening, I don't know if you've been watching what's going on with Stan Kroenke, the owner of the Rams, how he kind of said he was going to basically, if St. Louis sued the NFL for relocating the Rams out of St. Louis to bring them back to LA, got to say that. Kroenke was like, hey, I will cover all the legal costs. The owners are off. There's no financial liability from any of the owners for me to make this move. And the owner's like, hell yeah, let's do it then. Now he's backing off his financial obligations. So this might be a way for the NFL to be like, listen, if you drop the lawsuit against us, we'll give you a team. Win-win.
Yeah. A couple of last things, and then we'll get to the voicemails here real quick. We'll get that. Birmingham news coming next week. They're moving forward with that. Hopefully Monday, Tuesday, I imagine. Like I said, we have Jeff Pearlman coming up. This quote really struck me on 3 Down. They do their insider quotes every week. They're anonymous quotes. It says, there's already rumors going around that some current or former CFL coaches are going to the USFL. If they go, they're going to try to poach players. All I wanted to say with that, I get a lot of feedback from CFL groups when I post like USFL, they're like, why are you posting that? All of these leagues exist together. No league exists in the bubble. If the USFL launches in March and April, they're going to attract some coaches that are not going to be available or necessarily want to then go play immediately after in the CFL, especially if they're moving up their kickoff. Like Farhan had originally reported to like either right at the beginning of June or into May. Like all these leagues exist together. And so when I post USFL, XFL, like these coaches, McLeod Bethel-Thompson, league quarterback of the Argos, just played in the spring league last year. That's why it's connected. Like, I just get tired of this. Like, why are we hearing about all these other leagues? Because they all exist together. So,
I think I don't know if I don't know if you need to worry about the players leaving. I think the CFL is financially more stable than USFL is. Even with all their troubles, even the fact that teams here and there get to flirt with bankruptcy, I still think the CFL is a better business model right now from what I've seen. Since we've been covering Brian Woods and his cohorts over the Spring League and now USFL, we've been covering them, and we know there are some financial concerns that we personally have. So if I'm a player, I'm a coach, I'm looking at that situation going, I don't know if I want to risk making, $40,000 down in the US over what I'm making in Canada. And, Canada's a viable league. USFL might be.
Yeah, it might be for a year. Yeah, you might get a year, you might lose. Yeah.
There's so many question marks with the USFL. I just don't think it's a situation where, unless you're looking for your first head coaching gig, I don't see anyone leaving the CFL to go to the USFL. I just don't.
I do. So I will disagree, but that's good. I think that's good. I mean, I think that we just talked earlier, the cap issues and all of that, coaches not feeling welcomed, but not welcome, but not feeling like they have longevity with their teams, right? That maybe their careers are on the line that way punitively, right? Like, hey, you did bad. We're going to fire you. We'll see. I'll be curious to see. I mean, we don't know yet, but that's whatever. Fantasy football. The last thing, they released their combine dates. I'll put it up here. December 4th, the 18th. You go the one in LA on the 18th. Go say hi to the PDs. You go January 8th. Here's the thing, February 28th combine. USFL is training camps to start March 1st. So if people might not be leaving the CFL for the USFL, but they're definitely leaving fantasy football for the USFL.
Yeah.
Here's a couple quick voicemails before we go. These aren't too long, so don't worry. Kyle, the first voicemail is from Kyle. Here's Kyle coming at you. Of course, it's got a buffer.
You can play your alerts for your text, but not this.
Yeah, what is happening here? we can't nod after all.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, I'm gonna have to start working out on my fade there because there's some issues going on with that there. So hashtag Paul. Hey, you know what, Reed, Paul? I'm so happy that you guys came out with this way for us fans, to communicate with you guys, ask questions, give feedback, etc. I love the show, fan for a long time. Listen to it every week, having a blast. What a week for XFL news. This is exactly what we were waiting for. I'm curious for you guys, though. How do you feel about all this news? This is huge, from going from such a long period of time without anything, feeling it, and then all of a sudden, boom, all this to talk about, So this is great. It's great for the show, and it's great for us fans. I'm happy to listen to about it here. How do you guys feel? Take care.
Thanks for that. We're definitely excited. There's a lot more talk going on, more stuff that we could talk about. The better it is for you, the better it is for us too. I mean, we were worried about what we were talking about all this time, and thankfully, we had the CFL to kind of ingratiate ourselves with, and it's been cool. So it's good to see some news about the XFL. The whole reason why we started the podcast to begin with.
Yeah, two quick ones. Zach's a St. Louis fan. Zach's talking about the expansion.
Hey, Reed, it's Zach Fido, your best football buddy. I just wanted to give my perspective on St. Louis potentially getting an NFL expansion team. I'm not too worried about it because even though I would support the NFL coming back to town, I think the entire city is basically done with that. So I'm not worried about it affecting spring football in any way.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, do you think St. Louis is burned on the NFL?
No, I mean, I think they're burned in the sense they're pissed that they don't have a team, but you give them the chance to get a team, they're going to gladly take that. So while I see his point, I don't quite agree with it.
Okay, thanks. Last one, Richard's a longtime fan. Richard's a big fan.
Hey, Markcast. This is Richard Humphrey, better known as Richard O for real on Twitter. I have to say, y'all guys' show is so great, fantastic. I love listening to you every week on YouTube and the podcast. And my thing is, I'm happy about the XFL hiring. I just hope soon we get information about the coaches and TV and all their plans. I mean, when they give us all the information, I'm going to be very, very excited because the fan been waiting for news since they bought the league.
There you go.
We're all excited for the news. We were super excited to see they're hiring people. There's some movement being made. There's something finally happening with the XFL. So we're glad you're sharing that enthusiasm with us.
There you go. Speakpipe.com/Markcast. These are real people calling in. I think this is great.
I'm going to get one for Willhouse. Thank you, Reed. You've given us an idea. You took. Will's been kind of mad when you call your mom Mama Markcast. He's like, you took that from me. Brr. So it's anyway, we share and share alike.
But yeah, if you want to leave a comment, if you want to leave whatever, like and subscribe. I just think that's a good way. If you want to leave a comment, I like getting more people involved in the show that way. I think that's really easy.
Definitely. Again, and subscribe to us on all the platforms, all of them. YouTube, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the weird Geo, whatever it is, that iHeartRadio, there's like a Geo Sabin thing. I think we're on Amazon now. They finally added us to Amazon.
Facebook?
Facebook now. Yes, we did. I did set that up today. not today, but last week. And you can get us on Facebook now. You can listen to the podcast right in your Facebook feed. Part of that whole metaverse everyone's talking about.
They want you to stay on the platform. They're like, listen to the podcast.
They want you to buy things on the platform. They want you to stay on the platform. And that's what this whole metaverse thing is about. Look it up if you're interested. Anyway, want to thank everybody for listening. Want to thank you for subscribing. Again, we got another giveaway coming out. What, 1,600? Is that what we're looking at?
Well, 2,000. I was saying if we got to it this week, I was going to buy someone merch, but we didn't get there, so we don't have to worry about that. So 2,000, we're going to get some. We're going to get some mind stuff. Thanks again, Dan Ralph, Chris Edwards. I think that's good connections there. Adam Gosse. Remember, we have Jeff Perlman coming on next week with a bunch of CFL people too. It's going to be a good show.
Very cool stuff. Again, thanks for listening. Subscribe and share, and we'll see you here next week.